Welcome to Forever Exiled, the Path of Exile podcast. I am Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
This is episode 55 of our podcast. We're back talking to each other. Thanks, Yoji, for joining us last week. That was awesome. But yeah, now it's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Yeah, we can make it if we try. We're friends. I guess that was cute. We are friends.
Friends forever. That's what we're going to do. All pod. We're just going to sing the little clips of songs that we know.
Yep.
But don't know the rest of the song.
As long as we just mention Path of Exile, which we've already done.
Yeah, we're good.
It is officially a PoE.
That's right. Now we're going to talk about Michael W. Smith and Amy Grant the rest of the night.
Oh, you got me excited for a second. I thought you were going to say Michael Jordan, but nope.
No, we got all our MJ talk out just before the podcast.
That's right. Nobody wants to hear about us talking about basketball. Big shout out to all our Patreons this week for supporting the podcast. You guys are awesome. If you're curious what our Patreon is, you can find the link down below. Biggest benefit is at the lowest tier, you get access to our after the podcast, After Dark, where we just talk more PoE and life. So anyway, big shout out to everybody who's been supporting the podcast. You guys are awesome, and we will see you later after this episode in After Dark.
Sweet.
All right, so tell me about your week, bud.
Well, it's been busy. We didn't really get to catch up last week, so I got a couple things I want to bring up, if that's all right.
Let's do it.
My kids, we give them one, maybe two video game sessions a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get on Wednesdays, they get maybe an hour before dinner. They can play together. They have to play together, learn to share and be patient and stuff like that, whether playing Skylanders or whatever. Then on Saturdays, they get an hour each. They can play individually or whichever. They wanted their video game day last week to be Path of Exile on the computer. And my son's tried it a few.
Good kids.
They've done it on the console, but they get kind of excited and the computer mystifies them because we've never really integrated that into them yet. Yeah, so they were kind of learning the mouse and how it works and how different it is. And so it was kind of fun to watch them. I recorded every time I put like YouTube videos up with my kids, I always put it private. I accidentally had that public for a week and a bit. So either way, it was kind of fun to see them on there and figure things out. My wife and I, though, have you seen... I know we've been kind of talking F1 a little bit when talking about Netflix originals, but did you ever check out the Dragon's Dogma Netflix original?
No. Is it actually out?
Yeah. It's been out for a bit. It's been on my list, and one day I was just like, screw it.
Hold on. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I'm done. So it's 1 season, 7 episodes.
Real people? Animated? What?
Anime.
Huh.
Anime. And
okay. What'd you think?
Well, it's
Does it follow the story?
Yeah, and you know what, though? Things like the dragon and the monsters, they made look exactly. They didn't take any artistic liberation. They made it look exactly like it does in the video game.
But is Gary there?
No,
Gary?
No, what they didn't actually have you have 3 pawns in your party. It was just 1 pawn that could do everything.
Okay.
And, for the sake of story and, minimizing how many characters there are. It was dark, though.
Oh.
And a little bit of anime porn, but it was dark. But I was curious if you'd seen it yet, because we loved the game, or love the game. So cool. Probably the worst lore in the world. So when they were coming out with
I thought the lore was all right.
Oh, man.
The story was cool.
The overall story was neat. Yeah. Except when it came to your character outside of the dragon. Like, there were a lot of other lore things that happened, like with royalty and stuff like that. Like, I thought all that stuff was really lame, but the dragon itself and the entity of that was really cool. Anyway, it was interesting. It was neat. Some days I like it in retrospect. Some days I don't. I make fun of it just as much as I like it.
How many episodes was it?
7. Just 7.
Interesting.
So, okay. Do you know what a Repdigit is?
A Repdigit?
Yeah. It was Path of Exile related, so I put it into our Trello notes, and I don't remember. I didn't write down why I put in Repdigits in my Trello notes. Is this your
voice to text?
No. Repdigit's a legit thing. It's numbers that all have the same number. So like 11 is a Repdigit. 22, because it has 2 2s, is a Repdigit.
What does this have to do with Path of Exile?
See, I was kind of hoping you would help me with that. Can you think of any reason why I would want to bring up Repdigits in PoE?
I would never know why you want to bring up anything you want to bring up, ever.
Well,
No.
Anyway, I wanted to say, hey, cool. This is called Repdigits, and there's something in the game that was Repdigity.
Okay.
I don't remember what it is. So if you ever see anything Repdigit like in the game,
I'll make sure to add it to the list.
Give me a shout. Yeah. Now, you know what's awesome about Repdigits on a total side note, though? It's a portmanteau. You know what a portmanteau is? They're the best. It's a word that combines two words. So if I want to say something like, thanks, Justin, it would be like, I don't know, thin. Or if I want to say Justin sucks, it would be like jux. Get it? A portmanteau, like two words combining into one. Yeah, there's tons of Repdigit, repetitive digits, Repdigit. Come on.
Cool.
Hate Justin, Huston.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to make this a portmanteau episode because I really want Repdigits to be like, I don't remember why I wanted to.
So okay.
Anyway, I had a good week with my Repdigits.
Cool.
And my anime porn and my kids playing video games on PC.
Sweet.
Yeah. How about you?
Okay, let me think. My week, I started the installation of my Christmas LEDs.
Yeah. Are you using your lawn vacuum to help you with that process?
No, you know what? There was actually a day where I really needed to clean the lawn, but I was busy doing the LEDs and I was conflicted. I wasn't sure what to do. That being said, it has been effing freezing cold lately. And so doing the work on the Christmas lights has just been painful. So I got up, the whole main floor now has the channels all installed. The LEDs are all installed. Everything's soldered. Set up the little computer. Everything works. Realized how hard it's going to be. What?
Set up a little computer?
Yeah, there's a little computer that will run the whole thing. It's tiny. Like, this is it. I'm going to show him on the camera.
Okay, that is a little
It's like the
computer.
size of a credit card.
And
it's an ESP32 is the computer. It's actually this tiny little piece. Right, hold on. Okay, it's not going to focus. But anyway, this little piece right here is the actual computer.
I have an ESP33, so mine's better.
Okay.
Now, why didn't they just make an app?
That runs through my network, which lets me access it through an app.
And what does that computer do that the Christmas lights can't just be turned on and off?
It lets me do anything to them. They're all addressable LEDs, so I can control every single LED on the strips and have them do whatever I want.
Okay.
So it's awesome. And then, but it also made me realize how hard it's going to be to do the second level of the house because of hanging these freaking aluminum channels plus the soldering that has to be done. And so I'm looking into renting a giant, well, it's not giant. It's like a portable crane and bucket. It goes like 30 feet in the air and you get to be in this bucket and you can like maneuver it. You know, those, you've seen them around, right?
Yes, I've seen them around.
Yeah. I'm going to rent one of those.
I am curious how many people have rented them for Christmas lights as opposed to.
I'll bet you a lot. I'll bet you a lot.
This is gung ho, man. When you're on a project, you're on. You're like, no, I need a helicopter. I need to bungee down. I need to just twist my antenna just a little bit.
Right. Whatever makes it work. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen. Anyway, so I was going to actually try and rent it for tomorrow, but I need something where it's not raining. I should have done this in the summer because it would have been so much nicer. It's so freaking cold. So at the very worst, we'll have one line of Christmas lights. The main level will have Christmas lights. They're all done. They're all working. So
it's okay to wait till next year to finish your project.
Is it though? It kind of will bug me every single time I'll drive up to the house and be like, "What, you lazy butt? You didn't finish it." Yeah. That's what I'll say to myself every time.
It's already the middle of November.
I know. There's a time
and you're doing
crunch.
like fine tune, like hands easily cramp and freeze work. Oh man, wait till.
But if I have a crane and a bucket.
Does the crane come with a heater?
Then I could go anywhere. Well, I could. You know, it's funny actually. In each of the spots where I'm soldering them, I'm putting on heat shrink, and you have to heat it up. So I've got my heat gun out, and that heat gun normally would like melt your skin.
Yeah.
And I'm literally holding my hand like behind the heat sink, going, "Oh yeah, that feels so good."
I can do this with three fingers. I'm fine.
Yeah, just warm me up just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so that was my week. I have to tell you, though, about a story. Okay, and I don't normally do like stories. I leave that to you. You do the story thing, but
your stories are better.
No, this was hilarious. To me, it was hilarious. So hopefully it's funny. So I'm having lunch the other day. My oldest, who's 19, is having lunch as well. And my youngest, who's 3, had finished eating her lunch and she was just watching Peppa Pig. Do you know Peppa Pig?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
It's freaking hilarious.
I've honestly never actually watched it or like I've heard the noises in the background, but I've actually never focused on. It's a pig, a little girl pig and her family and their friends who are also all animals. So we're watching this show where it's playing in the background and my 19-year-old starts laughing at one point, and I'm like, and I kind of look up at him and I'm like, are you laughing at a show for like 4 and 5-year-olds? Like, are you laughing at Peppa Pig? And I'm trying, in my head, I'm trying to figure out, like, is that what he's laughing at? And he's like, oh, Dad, it's the one part that makes me laugh every single time. Because my kids have listened to the seasons many times over. And so he explains to me the story of what happens. And when he tells it to me, I laugh and I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty funny if it's true, but I've never heard it and I'm not going to rewind it or whatever. I go to bed that night and I was listening to a podcast as I was going to sleep, and it was a Bill Burr podcast, and he made a comment that made me laugh, and it reminded me of what Ethan had told me, what my oldest had told me.
Right.
So I paused the podcast and I laughed to my wife and I'm like, you got to hear this, what apparently happens in Peppa Pig. So I explained it to my wife and she starts laughing because she's also never heard this particular thing happen. Fast forward to the morning, girls come into the bedroom. First thing, my youngest is like, I want to watch Peppa Pig. And so we're like, okay, fine. We'll throw on Peppa Pig for a little bit before we go have breakfast. Now, the story is about whistling.
Yes.
And so my wife's like, okay, but Dad wants to watch the one about whistling. He's going to put the whistling one on. So we put this whistling one on. Here's the story. Peppa Pig doesn't know how to whistle. She hears her dad whistling and she's like, what are you doing? And he says, I'm whistling. He's like whistling a song. And she asks how you do it. So he explains to her, you just, put your mouth into a circle and you blow the air out and you make the noise. She can't do it. She walks into the house and she's complaining to her mom and she says, do you know how to whistle? And the mom says, oh yeah. And she whistles, and Peppa Pig's like, oh, okay, well that sucks. I can't whistle. And then she walks upstairs and she talks to her brother pig. I don't know any of their names. Talks to the brother pig and says that she's upset because she can't wiggle her ears and whistle. Those are the two things. And her little baby brother's like, oh, I can wiggle my ears. And he wiggles his ears. And then he says, I don't know if I can whistle. And he puts his mouth together in a circle and blows. And sure enough, he whistles. And she gets upset and she walks back downstairs and she's complaining to her mom that everybody else can whistle. And she says, her mom's like, it's fine. You'll learn it, whatever. She says, can I call my friend? I don't remember this. Sally the sheep. I don't remember what the actual friend was.
Susie,
it's like a sheep.
The sheep.
Susie a sheep?
Susie sheep.
I don't know.
Okay,
Susie sheep.
Let's get it straight.
I don't even know if it was a sheep or an elephant or whatever, but I'm going to go, yeah, so Susie sheep. She says, can I call my friend Susie sheep? And the mom says, oh, yeah, sure. So she calls for her, gets her on the phone. So her friend picks up the phone. Peppa says that she's like upset that how does she word it? She says, she asks her friend, Susie, do you know how to whistle? And Susie's like, no, I don't know how to. And Peppa cheers. And she's like, yay, like happy about it. She's like, well, not that you can't whistle, but just that I'm not the only one that can't whistle. And this Susie sheep goes, well, what is whistling? I don't know what whistling is. And Peppa says, well, you put your mouth together in a circle and then blow and you make a noise. And Susie puts her mouth into a circle and blows. And sure enough, she whistles. And all you see is Peppa hang up the phone. And this is like a little kid show. This tiny little girl's on the phone with her friend. And she just like gets this like super pissed off face and just hangs up on her friend. And her friend's like, Peppa? That whole long story made my whole week, man. I was laughing so hard.
You have missed out on Peppa. That's one of my wife's and my favorite scenes. But
you knew
seriously,
it?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. We love that
funny.
episode. And the little pig is George. And it's one of the only shows that I can tell another parent of young kids, yeah, you can watch it and not want to kill yourself later. It's funny. It's British, right? So their humor is, something that us in our part of the world, we absolutely love it in our family. And there's every episode, my wife and I laugh at something. Oh, it's so funny. Like the daddy pig, he's always like, I'm a bit of an expert at whatever it is, whether it's jumping in puddles or making sandwiches. It's just.
Well, I don't know about any of the rest of it being funny, but that part made me laugh so hard about the fact, just the way that she has this attitude and doesn't say bye, just literally hits the button to hang up on her friend.
Super pissed.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. But otherwise, yeah, okay. So my week was just work and lights and watching this Peppa Pig episode a couple times because that part made me laugh. What was your week in PoE like? Let's get into Path of Exile a little bit. Did you do much?
Peppa rocks. Pox. Following the Portmanteau theme. What was your question?
Pox is a streamer.
Oh, I don't know. That was a portmanteau for Peppa Rocks. Get out of here.
Enough of your Portman Bridge stuff. Get out of here.
What'd you ask? I didn't even listen.
PoE, Ty. How was your PoE week? Did you do much in PoE?
So good. I had an awesome PoE week. Awesome. I guess it's been an awesome 2 PoE week, or 2 weeks, right? Because of our interview. And I applied my filter changes. Every single little detail I've wanted to do over time, like over all the time, every little thing that I'm like, oh, that would be really cool, but I never get around to doing it. And the filter's still fine, but little details like, I don't know, making wisdom scrolls get smaller and smaller as you level and get into maps, but they're big while you're leveling because they're important for a league start, that kind of stuff. I was finally able and was finally comfortable with the changes that I've been making to my filter since I posted them at the beginning of the league. So what has this been, a month and a half now? I finally posted them and I'm really happy with it. I've been playing with my, my test filter for a long time. So that was nice. A part of me though, I don't want to make changes to the visuals of items that drop. Like, how PoE has their default filter, right? And they all have their own individual thing. And it's kind of neat. And every time they add new stuff, they have some sort of theme that they have. Who knows what it is? There's a part of me that always wants to just delete everything I've done and only make changes to mini-map icons and like the beams and then the sounds and sizes, but actually leave.
Why?
I don't know, just see what it's like. And then, all the league stuff's always that color. You always know what you're looking for. There's that theme that for some, makes sense to whoever does the filtering at GGG. But the one thing I hate about the GGG default filter is the maps. They're color coded by rarity, and I don't care about map rarity. You know what I mean? Like when a T16 drops, I don't care if it's normal, rare, or magic. I'm not filtering by that. I'm just going to pick it up, and I'll scour it if it's magic. But besides that, like I don't care if it's white, blue, or yellow, and they do. So that because of that, and maps are my favorite thing, I change that. But as soon as you make one change, you got to change everything else because it's not default, right? It's not vanilla. So, but anyway, did that. That was awesome. So I dotted all my I's and crossed my T's with my filter. There's literally nothing I can think of in my filter that I want to change now, which is so weird. I've never been there before. But here's the dangerous thing. When all of your I's are dotted, right? Yeah, when all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, even as a guide creator, scary things happen, right? The theory crafter starts freaking out inside. And so this week I had days when as a guide writer, I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's a busy day and I'm not really thinking about it, but 3 guides are perfect with the amount of time I need to dedicate to replies and double checking stuff. 3 guides is perfect. But the next day I totally forget all about that. And it's a slower day and I have more time to myself. And I'm like, why don't I have 6 guides? I have all these solid builds and only 3 of them. Like I should have more. And so then I'm like brainstorming like the fine-tuned details of how I could take these builds, and make them very, I guess, guide worthy. And like I'm having this like seesaw week of like, 3 guides is great. No, I should have 6 guides and then 3 guides. But at the end of the week, it was busy enough that I'm comfortable with 3 guides, I think. It was one of those though. Like I'm like brainstorming and going crazy. I was having this insane theory crafting week. And eventually nothing ever changed.
You ended up right where you started.
No, I spent tons of time doing all this work in my head and none of it ever got outside my head.
Well, at least you had the conversation now.
Oh, yeah. And believe me, when you're a stay-at-home parent doing chores and all your kids are at school, you start talking to yourself pretty quick. Nice and loud. You're having full-on conversation. So it was good. I hashed it out with myself. It was awesome. But in terms of actual gameplay, I had a lot of fun. I was broadcasting online a lot, had some fun people watching, some people that like to watch us murder each other in Red Dead as well. But it's hard, right? Like as a guide writer, your guides stay the same. I don't like changing guides. And I don't think anybody that's following a guide would want a guide to change throughout the league. You know what I mean? Like this is the guide. This is what I signed up for. If you make a change, it's kind of I don't know, if you're following a guide, that's
you mean like mid-league?
Yeah,
for
totally.
Sure.
So I don't like doing that unless I make a mistake or there was something I totally overlooked. I've done once or twice, but as a player, like my preferences still change, right? And my play style over time changes as well, especially because every build is different. You know, how you play it is a little bit different, even though my circumstances make it pretty similar. So even though I don't like making changes to my guide, I'm kind of changing the guide, the builds that I'm playing that are those guides, change them up a bit. And I really like it. Like I've been fine tuning it since League release, I guess, and making them really just perfect for me. And I absolutely love it. And I had some good help from the people that were watching on Twitch this week, which was a lot of fun. So all the guides now, like even that part, my theory crafting is done for those. So if no changes for 3.13 happen for these builds, you know, if like none of the changes they make happen, these are the 3.13 versions that I'm going to be posting. And it's weird. Like I have no I's to dot or T's to cross for any of the community filters, guides, anything. I'm done. It's so weird to have an empty slate in Path of Exile. And it's perfect timing because the private league's coming up. So anyway, I had an awesome PoE week. Did you play it all?
I did not. I actually, okay. So this week I played 2 other games. I played Terranigma, which is the Super Nintendo game that Yoji told us about.
Yes.
It was never released in North America. It's called Terranigma. It was one of the last games released for the Super Nintendo system. So I'm running an emulator and playing it. It's good. It's really good. Like the gameplay's fine. It's very like RPG-ish, Zelda / Chrono Trigger. Although it's not turn-based. There's no like turn-based fighting. It's more just slashing, you know, playing. The story is really quite interesting. And so it's been kind of like I don't know what you are. You're kind of, it's almost like you're up where the gods are, but you're not actually, there's no gods sort of thing. You're just like a normal human. There's some problems in Earth. And so you go through a hole and you drop down to Earth and you're restoring Earth. So you're so far I've brought back all the plants and I've brought back the birds and the wind. And so you're trying to restore Earth.
Sure.
It's really good. It's been a lot of fun. And it's really fun to just play something that's chill.
Yeah.
And then he had mentioned Hades, but I'd also looked into Hades beforehand, so I decided to pick it up. That game is really good.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't typically like the rogue like style games, like where you're building up you're constantly dying and replaying. That's not usually my cup of tea, but they did a really good job with this one. I was quite surprised because I was thinking to myself a few times, I'm surprised how happy I am to go back and do it again. Like how fine I am to go work my way back through hell.
So it's well balanced with motivation and rewards.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you can play with a controller, so it's kind of nice to just sometimes be able to just chill back and use a controller for it. But you mentioned the private league. We did get that set up this week. Well, I say we talk about it.
All right, go for it.
Let's jump into it. So our private league is going to start November.
Are you waiting for a drum roll? Is that it? Or did you forget?
I forgot. November 20th at noon PST, and it's going to run for 10 days. So if you've already signed up for it, then you're already accepted into it. And if not, you have to be on our Discord. So make sure you hop onto our Discord and you'll find the information under announcements. But what we're doing for this league, for this private league, basically the main goal is to be the highest living. Everything this league, it's hardcore solo self-found heist, but this time in order to win you have to be alive. So it's not the highest character dead or alive. You have to be living in order to win the different rewards.
Good choice of words. Yes.
What we're doing basically is the highest level living character of each class will win a $20 gift card for Path of Exile points. And so that means all the marauders are competing, all the templars, the rangers, witch, duelist, shadow, and scions are all competing within their own class. So you can play whatever ascendancy you want, and you're just competing with the classes.
Right, just the class. And it's XP based. So if there's 2 people at 91, we're just taking the one with the highest XP.
The one who gets to the highest and is alive.
Right.
So if the one who's at the top dies, you're out.
Sucker!
start over. And then the secondary part, which was what we wanted to do was, what happened is we wanted to make sure more people had chances of winning prizes this time. Because when we did the league when we did the private league last league, we had one person who was able to just take it all. And it came down to just who has the most time and, can not die. And we wanted to make it so we can be more spread out. So one thing to keep in mind too with those classes is you can only win 2 of the class prizes. So you can't come in and just no life it for 10 days and get the highest class in each of the classes and win all 7 of them. So the most you can win is 2 of them. But also we wanted to come up with like a lottery system. So Tyler sucked last league.
That's debatable. Highly debatable. I was in the top 10 pages of our private
living
league.
And dead.
Yes. I think I was page 7. That's pretty impressive.
I'm not sure you were that high. But anyway, in order to get into the lottery, all you have to do, it couldn't be simpler. Like the simplest would have just been sign up, but that's too easy. So the next simplest thing that we could come up with, that I could come up with, because Tyler definitely wouldn't have suggested this, is if you have an account that gets a character higher level than Tyler's highest character. Now, we're giving Tyler a break here. He can have a living or dead character to count towards this. But if you get a character that is alive at the end of the league and it is higher, just one character, higher
any
than
any class.
Yeah, any class, no restrictions to this one at all. You just have to get higher than whatever Tyler could get as his highest living or dead. What this mostly, you'll get entered into a draw. And of those draws, we're giving away 5 $10 Path of Exile points. You can only win one of those, but you can win one of those if you won the top class as well. So anyone who gets higher than Tyler with a living character beating his highest living or dead character. So we'll be all cheering for Tyler to die as often as possible, which also means all of us will get our wish. Like it's pretty much guaranteed that you'll die.
Will be in the lottery.
Yeah, and you'll die.
No.
And I think that's it. I think so. The sign up to join the league is, I don't remember how many people are in it right now. We'll add more slots. So if you want to join, just click the link in Discord, sign up, and you will get in no matter what. So it's a Forever Exiled only thing. We're not promoting this anywhere else. So if you listen to the podcast and you're on Discord, you can play. We know that it kind of overlaps a little bit with the Gauntlet one that's happening with Ziz. I think it's actually starting tomorrow. We're recording this on the 13th. I feel like his starts on the 14th. So there's a big hardcore. It's insane. It's like got every terrible mod you could ever have. Yeah. Ours has no weird mods. It has no mods. It's literally just hardcore solo self-found. But we do understand that it crosses his by about a couple days. We did discuss trying to maybe extend ours so that we didn't cut with it at all. But in the end, it's not a me and Tyler thing anyway. If you want to play in his, which hopefully if you can get tonight, there's some great prizes for even people who can't win types of things like that. So hopefully you can get up into those ranges of maybe getting into the chance of a lottery win with his. But we're not competing. So if you want to play in ours, knock yourself out. You'll have space. We'll have space for you. But if not, don't worry about it. We'll catch you in the next one.
Yep.
So it's going to run for 10 days.
One reward for the best living character in each class, not ascendancy. And then everybody, and you can win a maximum of 2 of those. And then a random 5 people that are alive, that are better than me, which is basically nobody, also go into a little bit of a draw.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So we'll have a draw for that. So yeah, it's kind of fun because we're giving away more money than we did last time, but we're breaking it up across multiple people, which is so much better.
Yeah. It's fun. You get less.
Fun. He's for fun.
Where's that for fun? Where's that from?
I don't know.
It's for fun. That sounds like, oh wait, what's that? Nacho Libre. That's what it is.
Is that your Google?
Yeah, my Google Home always goes off. I keep forgetting to unplug it for the podcast. And I didn't even say anything Google related.
I know. Flipping Google. Okay. So yeah, anyway, that's starting November 20th. You can sign up anytime. You'll get the information on our Discord. You're not going to find it anywhere else. We're not going to tweet it out. We're not going to send it out. If you want to be in it, you got to be on Discord. we want to talk about PoE, but I wanted to bring this up with you because you like consoles.
I've heard
consoles just came out this week. Both of them just released this past week. Do you know much about this release?
It was a very calm release, but both consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X/S, were very they were sold out everywhere. Like you could.
What makes it calm to you? It's stupid.
I've been paying attention to it, and I'm very excited for it. And I didn't even realize the release date came and went.
Okay, so here's my problem. I understand that they do it to build up, like, I don't know what the word is, to build up people's excitement for it, but having such limited stock at release to me is just not cool. It's so not. They know when the release is coming. I know that they do it to try and increase sales.
Nintendo always does that. I'm surprised that these two did. I don't think it was intentional. Do you think
100%? 100%. That, like, PlayStation has said that, well, it's completely dwarfed our pre-sales for that PlayStation 4 had, and that's why we're delayed and blah blah blah. But I mean, and then even taking it a step further, in Canada, I don't know if Microsoft has, but Sony has said you can't sell them in stores. Sony, throughout all of Canada, will not allow retail stores to sell them in stores, and their whole purpose for that is COVID. They're trying to, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that is kind of thoughtful. Like, the company will take a hit for that for sure.
But then they're not available to buy online. It's not like that increased stock. They're basically, most EB games and most Best Buys and whatever have a crazy small stock. When they came out on sale on the day, so this isn't pre-sale, this is actual release day, I think they were all sold out within 30 minutes across Canada.
Yeah.
That's not enough stock. That's stupid. And then, because the same thing happened in the States, but in the States, you could also go into a GameStop or into a Best Buy or a Walmart, and they were in stock. And then, just another thing to piss people off, in Canada, and this isn't the States related, this is just Canada, for orders online, all shipments were coming from out east, and all shipments were going through Canada Post. And if you live in Canada, you know how absolute garbage. If Canada Post is the only shipping from out east to out west, you're like at least a week.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
And especially right now, it's slower. So, and I mean, of course, and I would never blame people for doing this. People are selling them right now for ludicrous amounts of money. And that, fine, that if you can make money, why not? But I just find that crap annoying. And I'm not even a console person. I do want the PS5 because I want to play Demon Souls.
Yeah.
But not for $1,700 for a PlayStation.
No. I'm excited for them. I wasn't really, I really only play PoE. There's no, I don't buy them for AAA titles. I play them for the games I already have, right? Path of Exile will be updated eventually for the new consoles. Until then, it'll be backwards compatible, I believe. Like Dragon's Dogma, awesome. Dark Souls or Elden Ring would be the only AAA title I'm getting, but that's because it's, same thing as Dark Souls type of thing. So that's it. So I'm not in a rush. So I was pretty apathetic to all the woes that other people had where they buy the newest thing and then they get the newest game. And, so.
The Xboxes have been smoking. It's been pretty funny. Yeah. The black ones, because there's two versions of it, right? There's the bigger black one, and then there's I honestly, I mean, I know you love Xbox. They look so stupid.
I think all of them do.
Sony, they Xbox, do, but
I don't care.
The Sony, at least it's like, hey, we took some time to maybe design something. Xbox was like, we got a rectangle. I just think it looks stupid. But anyway, they're all out. I don't know what it's like in the States. I assume it's, I saw people talking about the fact that in the States, they were selling the PlayStation 5 for like $1,400 US online, which is way more money than what they actually cost. But
I think they're $600 Canadian for us if we were to find them eventually in retail. Yeah.
$670 for the PlayStation if you want it's kind of funny, or $630, sorry. $630 is the PlayStation if you want the disc. Yeah. Or $500 if you want the digital only. And what's bizarre to me is that I know a disc drive does not cost $130.
Yeah.
Crazy that's the price difference between and that's it. That's the only difference between them.
They're probably just trying to discourage disc sales on a regular basis. Eventually it'll be digital only anyway. So
maybe. But that would kind of suck for that whole backward compatible stuff though, if you can't put a disc in.
Yes and no. what I don't know how Sony's works. Microsoft, they have backwards compatibility for a billion of their games, and you could use your disc or you could use it digitally. And for certain games, they would have the recognition that you had the digital version of it.
How?
And then I don't know.
But if you bought the physical version, how would it know?
I don't know. There was a process when the Xbox One was originally released where it did it for some games.
I bet at some point you had to put it. I don't actually know. That doesn't make sense to me if that's a real thing. But I just think it's weird to me that companies will put out something that is, relatively hyped that they are making a piss load of money on, and then understock it. I just think that's kind of dumb. And then also, like, the whole idea of not selling them in person in Canada. I understand that it's trying to be COVID sensitive and aware, but isn't that the responsibility of the company that's selling them? You know what I mean? Like
of the store
to be like, okay, guys, this is where your space. I feel like that should have been their decision, not Sony's, especially in one country.
Yeah.
Like, how did you pick Canada? I don't understand how that. The only thing I can think of is they were like, well, we can't tell the US what to do because that won't go well, but Canada, that'll be fine.
Well, the Pacific Rim numbers for COVID have skyrocketed, so maybe they're concerned about their trade partners.
Well, you skyrocketed though, is they're higher
in comparison.
We're not like terrible, terrifying numbers that you're seeing in some places down south, but yeah, they are. They're very anal about that kind of stuff up here, which I'm not arguing that. I'm happy that everybody's wearing a mask now and it's a lot tighter up here, but it's weird for me for Sony to tell a country that you can't sell them in store.
I'm excited for the release, but I'm kind of like, I have the same mentality with these new consoles that I do with PoE. Like, I'm excited for the new League, but I'm in no hurry. I'm totally fine getting the stable version of standard. And with the new consoles, I'm totally fine waiting until the end of spring when PoE is actually made for the new consoles or something. Or I don't know, Dragon's Dogma comes out with its online version. I don't know, a game that one of the few games I'm super stoked about comes out, then I'll get it. And it'll be in store and all the patches will be there and it'll be stable and people won't be blowing their vape smoke into the Xbox consoles.
Did you see that tweet?
they had to tell people.
I can't believe we have to tweet this, but don't blow your vape smoke into the Xbox. I will say, just for the majority of people out there who are PC players and are on the smarter side of that stick, it's been a little bit funny. I'm trying to wrap my head around, like, if you were just a console player, right? If people just play console, and this happens every release, every single time a new console comes out. I watched this one guy that was talking about the visuals, and I think he was using the Xbox. I don't remember. It was Xbox or PlayStation. They're pretty comparable. But they were like, look at the light as I turn the camera. And as a PC player, I was like, okay, well, that's not that impressive, but that's certainly been around but it was just like, I love that stuff where they're like, did you know that stuff can do this?
It's
a game can look like this.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The Xbox that we have upstairs, it's just a Xbox One. I think it's the S. I love one thing that Microsoft does. They keep updating. Like, their new consoles are out and they're still updating their old console, and I love it. So they came out with an update not that long ago that increased their, I guess, HD capabilities with certain TVs. And so I was going through and I was changing the HD settings, the HDR settings. And I went through, and at the end, it's like, okay, this is what it used to look like. This is what it's going to look like. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's the exact same picture. That's like a copy and paste. So I'm like, hey, love. And so I get my wife, call her into the living room, and I'm like, check this out. And I'm going to make fun of it. And she's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And she was like literally, she could see the huge difference between them. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Okay. Which one are you looking at?
That's awesome.
So I guess it's amazing for some, but I'm not the type of person. I remember when we went from coax cables to whatever came after coax with cable, and we were hanging out. This is what you still lived at home, like with your parents at this stage. This is years ago, and we go over and we're watching soccer, and I'm looking. Everyone's like, "Oh, look how amazing this is!" And I'm looking, and I'm like, looks the same.
So your eyes are just totally effed, because I remember that was a big change from coax to, oh man, I don't want to date ourselves. Anyway, it was a good.
I swear they intentionally dumbed down coax quality because the new version looked just like it used to. And then at some point, immediately Coax made me squint.
Anyway, I just love that console people get excited for something that's been around for a very long time. If you would just play on a friggin' PC. Anyway, let's get into Path of Exile. So we're going to do this week in PoE. We talked a little bit about some of the stuff in After Dark with Yoji last week, and but obviously some of it we want to talk about in the main episode as well. So why don't you? I only have like one. We're going to talk about Affinities afterwards. So let's talk about the rest of it.
Yes, I see your note. I am excited about your comments about that. But first, it's been 2 weeks, right, since we were able to talk about things that PoE has done throughout the week. They've come out with a lot of MTX, so much that I'm not going to bother listing. I have a couple highlights, actually.
Some of it comes off tomorrow, or it might even be before this comes out.
Yeah, they're Halloween specific ones. I don't remember when, but they are timed, so check
Crazy
them out
skeleton.
if you wanted to. Did you buy those? The dancing skeletons? You didn't? You were so excited about them. I bought 2.
All my points went to our private league. Poor me.
Justin. You're so nice.
No, I don't really care. I don't like pets. If it was a MTX for a skill, I would be on it 100%. I don't even care what the skill is. I'd use it.
Oh, man. I remember long ago. I don't remember if it was when I worked there or if we were just shopping there, but we were at EB Games and one of them came up. I was buying something and you were just there waiting, couldn't wait to get out. Then all of a sudden somebody brought up a WoW mount. They're like, hey, you playing the new expansion? You get it? Oh, no, I'm done with WoW.
Had every
mount. You get a cool mount. And you're like, mount?
I mean,
yeah, that's right. I think you resubscribed. You played for a couple months straight. But I know these aren't mounts. But anyway.
If I could ride that skeleton, then maybe.
Oh, man. Wouldn't that be awesome? They add mounts one day as part of your items.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, you know. So anyway, they came out with tons. The new dragon apparition is really cool. The Angels and Demons mystery box, which was released, I really like that one. So I'm excited that's part of the personal thing now. Not personal store that you can just buy whenever. I'm loving these group releases they're doing. Have you noticed? Like they came out with, yeah, they had, and I think it started this league with the league rewards. They had that challenge point where you would unlock 3 helmets, I think it was, not just 1.
Okay, so you're right, but the portals aren't buy one, get them all.
No.
Right.
But they kind of like that group aspect joined. So with the reward, yes, you get all 3. But now with these group releases, they had realistic looking animals. I love the realistic looking MTX. I think that stuff's cool. So there's ducks. Come on. Quack, quack.
Is that a pet?
Quack, quack, quack. Yeah. Now imagine if you could do the flying V from Mighty Ducks.
Yeah. Can I please have 6 pets?
Yeah, that's right. I'd like to organize them. I'd like a formation stack. But then they have the Stygian portals came out in different colors. And so it's cool though. They released 5 different colors of one theme. So if you like the look, but you want a different color, I'm liking where that's going. I think that's cool. I bought the Mystic Gate portal as soon as it came out. That night I went on. You know what sold
Is it the green one or the blue one?
No, it's a really light blue. It's an arch made of brick, and then it's kind of cloudy, blue and misty in the middle. You know what I love about it? It's huge. It's like 3 characters high. It's the biggest portal I've ever seen. It's awesome.
Did you hear the story behind that one?
I didn't. I really like reading the stories of that stuff, but I missed it.
I just happened to catch the tweet by the guy who designed it, who works for GGG, and he mentioned that it was one day he came in and he was trying to like learn and get better at some of his design work. And so this was the very first thing that he just kind of designed on his own. And it was a while ago. It wasn't like recent. And so he was quite excited that it was actually being released as a portal.
That's cool. I wish I read that. I'll backtrack and check that out. And they released a lot of Shield MTX as well, which
you've complained about for a while. So that's cool.
I really want there to be more variety. So they added some more of that, which is really cool. Personal request for GGG is more pirate MTX, but also tree ents. Wouldn't it be awesome to have like tree ent zombies or skeletons? How cool would that be?
Mm-hmm. Really
cool is your answer. So anyway, they came out with a whole bunch of the MTX stuff. And did you see the release? I love it when they do concept art. I'm not an artist, but I love seeing what these things look like from a wonderfully rendered image before it goes into PoE. Because I mean, it's totally different art, right? Like the idea is there, but when it's in gameplay, it looks very different than what was actually on the computer screen. So I love seeing it. Did you see the concept art for Angels and Demons?
No, I didn't.
It was sweet.
I'll pull it up though. I'll use it for our YouTube background so that I can see it. I always like to find new stuff for
Yeah.
Whatever goes on our background on YouTube. So
I loved Yoji's. That was awesome.
He sent them. I asked him. Yeah. I was like, give me some fun ones.
Cool. And then they had one patch in
a couple hot fixes, but one main patch.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. And I only had a couple highlights from them, but it looks like you had one. So you go first. I've been talking too long.
Only because it made me laugh. The Azurite mine is now capped at depth level 65,535. And my note to that was just, phew.
Yeah.
That was necessary. I am so curious what led to this. What happened? What? Yeah. Like I get that it was actually kind of funny as you got towards this heist, which is I really, really like heist. I had a great time in heist, but I also feel like heist is starting to take a pretty heavy dip. And probably some of the stuff with regards to the delay is having an impact on that. But
sure,
you were seeing a lot of people getting to stupid depths. I remember playing and being like, 13,000, that's a lot. Like, why do you even show me this anymore at this point? Like, I don't care.
I'm astonished at those players. Good for them.
I would love to see a YouTube of somebody doing them at these depths, because I don't get what
solo.
I don't get why you're doing it, and I don't get what you're doing. I just don't understand it. But what was the thing that led them to like, oh, this is there has to be something mathematical with 65,535 that makes them like, we can't let them go to 65,536 because that would wreck the game. But 65,535 plus, now I really want to see what that looks like. I want to see somebody's mine map where the bottom is just flat.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. And then you got to go sideways. Imagine how long it would take to scroll to the bottom. You know, when you have a new character and it starts you at the top and then you got to scroll and scroll. Oh my goodness. It is so tedious on console because you're just holding down on the left analog stick.
Oh, because you can't zoom out.
Oh, and I've got to close my eye. Well, you can, but you still got to scroll down. And it's dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah, because it would stop at each spot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm only in the like 280s.
There's no button for like page down, like just to jump to the bottom or something. They should put that in there. That was the only part that I cared about. It made me laugh because I read the notes and nothing really stood out to me. But that one I was like, the hell? Like, how did that become a thing?
I think the number is awesome. I would love to see what the mods are like the difference in like the list of mods for the areas in Delve at 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 65,535. How big is that list? I'd love to know the reason that they're doing this, but anyway.
I have to go back to this. It's 65,535. That is about 65,235 more than I've ever. I feel like the deepest I've gotten is like 250, 300.
Gotcha.
What? 60?
That's crazy.
Cap it at 1,000. Why? Seriously, I want to see somebody's video of them going to these like 15, 20,000 depths. I want to know what they're doing. Like, are you killing things? Are you?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know. I remember a long time ago, one of the patches was we've now increased the amount of XP to earn levels after level 90. So it was a lot longer to get to 91, 92, 93. And the idea was to make 100 just insanely hard. And one of my favorite replies to that was, oh, good, because I was scared I was getting close to getting to level 100, right? Like, I'm never going to get 100. I can't. I never will. And for me, I'm never going to get to 65,000. I love the prospect of the game being crazy hard and that I'm never going to accomplish getting 100. I love the idea that I'm never going to get to depth 65,000. I'd love to be able to. I'm never going to, though. And I love the prospect that there's always something further that I can do. I think that's really cool.
Can I just ask, though, something that's a little funny? 2 weeks ago, we're told that, with the delay from Cyberpunk, they were looking at things that were going to happen between, the end of Heist and the beginning of 313. It just seems weird to me that they announced that a suggestion is endless delve, and then they're like, "Here's our delve cap." Like, no, we're going to do an endless delve, but here's the end of delve. Like, what? It just seems funny.
No more endless for
That's
endless
right.
delve.
Endless-ish delve.
I think it's really cool. There
has to be a reason. Yeah,
I don't care what the reason
is. Give me a asterisk and a note at the bottom that says like, here's why. Anyway, what else stood out to you?
65,536 is right out.
What happens? Like, what happens at 536?
Yeah, that's cool. I'd love to have a build. I'd love to. I haven't even bothered looking into what the Delve specific builds focus on, but maybe one day.
Hold on. There's a guy, this has nothing to do with this, but I think, I'm not going to say who it was because I don't remember and I don't want to say the name wrong, but they got to 100 only heisting. They never killed Act 5 Katava. They went from level 0, like 1 to 100 in heist. I have no clue how.
Oh, in heist.
Yeah.
How do you sustain?
I don't have a clue.
I was thinking Delve. How do you sustain any of that? Like, how do you get contracts?
Well, you can buy contracts every level, but that would mean you would have to level using said contracts. And I have no idea if the XP is high enough to continue that. I'm not sure.
It is.
Anyway, that's
kind of cool. Yeah. Here, I didn't know if this was something that stood. I wanted to ask you about this. Wasn't sure if this was. Oh no, yeah, you did bring this up. Fixed an issue where engineering and agility traps could get into a state of being unable to be deactivated during lockdown if you previously deactivated them during the imminent lockdown period. That happened to you, right? Where you were on the wrong side of a trap, but you couldn't undo it because it only expected you to come from one direction, not the other.
Yeah, it's not the same thing though.
It sounds like the same thing.
What was happening to me is when the traps and the doors were activating during the build up to the full, like during that, whatever, 20-25 seconds. What this is saying is that if I deactivated those doors during that period, that I wouldn't be able to do it again as I came out. I'd never experienced that. That would suck if it ever happened because you would actually be stuck.
Interesting. I'm stuck in Delve at a certain place. Well, not stuck. There's an area I really want to go to and explore, but I can't. And hopefully fixed an issue which could cause distant Delve areas to be not clickable, preventing you from traveling to it. Now, okay. I don't know if this is the screen. I don't know if it's off the screen or not.
I've had that for going down.
So I have one of those, I don't know what the proper terms are, but I have one of those areas that you have to blow up the wall to unlock the path to, right? And I'm at the only location that it can be at. And when I go to that location, there's no path to go up. Okay. So I can't unlock that place that doesn't have a road that's leading to it yet. I can't find that path and blow up the wall. So I'm like, okay, well, let's double check. There's supposed to be that road at this location, but there isn't. So I travel to the node that's next to it that I've unlocked. And then I travel down along that yellow path that I've already unlocked to go back to the node where I'm supposed to have the starting point. Does that make sense? Yep. I know it's kind of okay. So I'm traveling from one node that I've already been to the node where the starting point's supposed to be. And I'm going. It's a long path. And then all of a sudden,
you stop.
There's this invisible wall and I can't get to it. And on the other side is that like yellow circle. Yep. Where I previously was. Purposeful. Now I can use, why? What is that?
So it limits how much of the delve loads so that the entire delve doesn't load all the time. So there's an actual range from the yellow circle that you go to. And if the pathing between the two is long enough, you actually won't be able to reach back if you try to run back to it.
It's literally 8 character steps away. And I think part of that is the reason why I can't access that road. There's something to do with that length of block with the area that loads when I load the original area where I think where I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be going to that.
My guess is just user error.
Unlikely. I never make mistakes. But they also fixed an issue where the Purifier's weapons were unable to perform any attacks. So if you thought that the Purifier was easy, it's now going to be a normal fight. But I thought that was interesting where they couldn't do any attacks.
I don't know if I ever noticed that. It must be some weird combination that would cause that to happen.
Yeah, well, I thought that was kind of neat. But anyway, with the exception of the one major subject we've excluded, that was the last 2 weeks in PoE. It was awesome.
Yep, let's get into the big one, which is the stash tab folders and stash tab affinities.
Ooh.
So let's take on folders first. I don't care. I know you like them. I don't actually care about the folders. The folders are kind of meh, but they're cool. It's cool that they put it in and gave people the ability to use them.
Yep.
But I don't find them super useful. I will say out of all of this, out of everything, affinities, folders, stash tabs, I am really, really, really impressed that they did what I was saying I hope they did, which is that it works with every stash tab. Paid or not paid, you can use this affinity system with every single stash tab. Amazing.
I'm blown away that I agree, 100% agree. And I'm blown away that they came away with the idea of letting your free tabs, your 5 free tabs at the beginning, being included in this, right? Like, because it seems to me like even just changing the color, changing the name of your tab, you have to pay for that.
Yep.
Right.
And you couldn't even right click them. Like a previously free stash tab, you just couldn't right click because there was no reason to right click it. So I was kind of curious. You can right click it now. You just can't name it or color it, but they did give you the fact that they threw in affinities there is amazing. And to anyone who is complaining, go to heck, because that is awesome. This is me being nice. Did you see that? I said, go to heck.
I know you intentionally didn't swear.
Yep. I was very nice.
By right click, you mean push down on the right analog stick, right?
No, we're not talking about those dirty consoles. We are talking about the PC Master Race, which is what everybody should be playing. Go ahead.
I can't believe they came out with stash tab affinities for console so quickly. From the notes that I was reading, it was like it was coming, but it wasn't like they still had to figure it out and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, it was like 4 days later, it came out. I was blown away. Now, I was actually, anyway, I love the new affinity system. Folders you asked about, so let me do folders. Folders, I love the concept of it. I'm a folder freak. I'll organize them all. But to me right now, they're pointless only because you can't see which tabs are in the folder from the drop-down menu, right?
Yeah, I've never actually looked, to be honest. I made just a test.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to, from looking from left to right when the tabs are listed, just have folders so I don't have to scroll left and right. But then on the PC drop-down menu where it shows all your stuff, I'd like to be able to, if something's in a folder, have it listed under the folder there so I can still just single click on it if I'm looking for something.
Oh, you can't?
No, right now, if you have it in a folder on the drop-down menu.
Only the folder shows?
Only the folder shows. And so it limits how you organize it, which it's not really a complaint. But for me, with how I like to do stuff, I love the affinity. I love just click, 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 and it's all the way in there. I most definitely, even though it's not good that screens change quickly for my concussion stuff, I have it so that the screen pops up. It's like divination, currency, maps, divination.
Oh, why?
I absolutely love it.
Oh, I don't turn that on.
I don't know. I like it. And then, so I love all that stuff. But then when you're done that, you still need to access your stuff. And I don't want to okay, wait, was my currency tab in this folder? Let me open it. Oh, shoot. No, was my selling tab in this one? It really limits how you organize it. So once they allow you to see the full list of all your stuff, even if they're in a folder, I'll be using folders like crazy.
Yeah. See, for me, I just don't use the folders because then the affinity goes straight to the tab that it's supposed to go. And
it still does.
Yeah, but I don't have to worry about the folder thing you're talking about because I just go straight to the tab I want because I'm not using folders. But I love the fact that now I have a quad tab that normally would be very full after a number of maps, now has very little in it, and all my other stuff is just I think it's awesome. They did such a great job with how it works. I can't imagine having it swap tabs while I'm doing it. I feel like my head would just spin.
Yeah, I close my left eye. So that I only see my No, I like it. I don't know why.
Doesn't make any sense.
Oh man, but I was going to write a bug on console about affinities because it wasn't working, right? Roll your eyes all you like. It wasn't working. So I turn on stash tab affinities and I turn it on so that, the tab changes so that I can see that it's working and where it's going and how, if I have a full stack of div cards or, oh, wow, that was my first of this fossil. Neat. And then I'll ignore it, right? I like that stuff. But it wasn't working. And I'm like, I'm hitting X to transfer stuff to my stash. I'm like, what's going on? Maybe the check marks were wrong. So I turn off stash affinities. I turn off, showing me which tab it's going into. It's not working. I'm like, I go online. Nobody's having the issue. Nobody's talking about it. I'm like, what is going on? No way. So anyway, a day or two later, I remembered that I had to actually assign my tabs. So I actually had to go into the tab and say, yes, I want my currency specialty tab to take my currency. I totally forgot about that. So stash tabs are working fine on all platforms as far as I know.
Oh yeah, I thought I played with it for a little bit when it first came out, played with it for a little bit last week. It just makes mapping so much nicer. It is going to take a bit to get used to because it's a little weird to just forever. We've just left the map, either dumped it into a single tab or actually gone into each individual tab to do it.
Yeah.
I really like it. I like the fact that if I have a unique in my inventory that I already have, it just stays there. So I know I can just dump it. Yeah, I think they did a great job with the affinities, and the fact that they made it open to everybody, regardless of whether you've paid or not. Awesome.
Honestly, I think it's a really smart business decision because it shows people how much more valuable stash tabs can be, and you're even more inclined to go purchase one, even from that perspective. But I thought it was very thoughtful, even if you're not thinking from that perspective, to actually make those tabs that convenient. I think it's great. I just think it's absolutely awesome that they're out. I mean, people have been so excited for this, and I saw on Reddit, and I totally get it. And the company was very patient too. Triple G, very patient with everybody being excited. Like, hey, when are they coming out? Hey, when are they coming out? I know you announced they were coming out soon, or that they were delayed. I'm just really excited, and they were very cool with their responses. I loved it. Some people think that, as exciting as it is and as great as it is, that this should have been out 6 years ago as opposed to 2020. I'm just happy they're out. I think it's really cool. Here's one thing that I wanted to ask you about. I've been waiting since these came out to ask you about. Chris, and we've had this conversation quite a few times for different reasons. Item weight was a big deal for Chris in a previous interview that he had recently for 313. Do you think this changes? Or maybe we've already had this conversation. My apologies to repeat it. Do you think stash tab affinities change the value of item weight now that they're out? Now that you've seen and played with it a little bit, do you think it changes the item weight value? This conversation sounds familiar. Maybe we did have it.
I don't. Maybe it was an after dark conversation. I don't think it changes item weight. No, I think we've talked about it before that I think it would if things dropped identified. That's sort of where part of our conversation stemmed
I do remember
around.
that. Okay, right.
But affinities, no.
No, okay. I find that it actually kind of does take away from it a little bit because I'm going through and I'm enjoying how different how much less time I'm doing my inventory. I absolutely love it. But now I'm not that excited. Like, oh, sweet, that was a T16 map, or oh, wow, I have a full stack. Like, I'm not really noticing. You know what I mean?
Why would that be different? Maybe
because it's going by quick. Because the process is that much more fast, that much faster, and I'm not doing. So let's say I'm going to my div tab. I'm not just, okay, now where's all my divination cards? And I click on all my divination cards. I see them showing up and it's div only. Now I'm not even looking at my stash tabs. I'm just looking at my inventory. I don't have to care about what it is. I'm just click, 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 click. It's gone. I don't know if I have a full stack. I don't notice that if it was a golden oil or an amber oil or whatever, like it's gone. I remember when I picked it up, but at that point, it's all apathy and I'm moving on to the next map. So for me, item weight is a little bit more diminished.
I would argue that that's just a personal thing, because if you were picking up div cards, first off, you see them when you pick them up. Same with the oils or anything. But when you are throwing it into the tabs to use the affinity system, if you're choosing to just spam click, which I would assume most people are, that's just a personal choice. The one nice thing is you could still do them slowly. You could mouse over each one and control click it.
True.
And then make the decision to control click and it would go, versus, I think that just comes down to a personal preference of whether you want to be slow enough to watch all the stuff or if you want to just spam click them. I think most people, because this has no effect on rares that you're going to have to identify.
Right.
And that's, to me, where item weight tends to lay, is how good is a rare item that's going to be dropping or that you're choosing if you are or are not going to pick it up. But yeah, I know what you're talking about on the div card specifically side, because sometimes you might forget what you've picked up, but you could also choose to just control left click it slower, like after you've moused over it. But
yeah, I just find the old process, I was more, even if I was in a hurry, I was just more aware of what I was stashing.
True.
And in this process, I'm not. But like you said, item weight is always going to be preference. And that's what makes their job in item weight land and trying to figure out what's going on. It's trying to accommodate as many preferences and excitements as possible, right? Like, it's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, it's absolutely awesome. Zero complaints. And it's just going to be further improved upon over time. So good job. GGG.
Yeah, I like them.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit ago about Cyberpunk, the delays. Obviously, they came up with it. You mentioned this to me today that I didn't actually know, but that there's actually other titles and other companies and games that have chosen also to delay for Cyberpunk. Now, I'll let you kind of head this one up because you know more about it than I do. But I agree from any company that chooses to do it that they know what they're doing. Like Cyberpunk is just too big, too much hype for a company, especially if you're not a huge company. It's not like an EA game or some big game that's got money behind them who can go, well, whatever, we'll release with them anyway. We'll do fine. But if you're a smaller developer or you really count on that initial income, you would be crazy to try and compete with it.
Right. When I worked at Electronic Arts, for example, we would release our sports games always at the same time. It was irrelevant to who the company was, right? No matter who was making how many basketball or hockey games or whatever it was, because there was a season that was starting, right? The national, this is going to like bother every one of our international listeners outside of Canada or the United States because of soccer/football. But when the NFL, when football is getting released, right, it starts in September, right? They would release their Madden game in August, a month before, right? You want to get the hype. You want to get part of the new season hype. When the NHL is going to start in October, they would release their NHL game in September. All their competitors, right? And even FIFA, right? FIFA would start in our November. So you'd have, like, we call it soccer because we're silly, but soccer, right, comes out in November. So they release FIFA in October. Every other company that wasn't Electronic Arts always published their competitive games 2-3 weeks before EA. It doesn't make sense to release a sports game 2 months before the new season in real life starts, but it does when you're scraping your income away from a company as massive as Electronic Arts. And here, now, Path of Exile is actually one of the first, I mean, it's a huge game, but it's still, Path of Exile was one of the first companies to change their game date based on Cyberpunk. Now, out of all the articles I've read, there's been tons of games that have pushed back the release dates because of Cyberpunk. A lot of the articles even referenced grinding gear games and Path of Exile as a result. Like, they not necessarily started the movement and people are copying PoE, but they were one of the first companies to have the guts to do it.
And say that that's why.
And yeah, not necessarily because GGG did it, but there's a lot of companies that are doing it. PoE was one of the first ones to do it. And so I thought that was, I don't know, I guess as a fan of the game, and we're very passionate about PoE, and we kind of get caught up in our own opinions having a lot more value than maybe they should. It was nice for me that wants to play PoE sooner to see, like, yeah, it just makes sense. Like, they're not, like, it's good. PoE knows GGG knows what they're doing. A lot of companies copy it. And even when I worked at, what was that game company I worked for? Not EA, the other one. That's the one that sells stuff.
EB Games?
When I worked at EB Games, companies were always changing their release dates around trip. Like when a Bethesda game was coming out, all of a sudden, I remember, I forget which game it was, but a Bethesda game would get announced. It was coming out 6 months later. All of a sudden, our system was blah, 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 blah. All these release dates changed all around that November 11th time, right? It was 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. Companies were always changing stuff. So anyway, didn't mean to rant on it. It was just, it's cool to see other companies doing the same thing. Gives you more reassurance if you're one of the critics.
They can go to hell.
The critics.
Yep.
Not the other games. Yeah, no, I'm
on
board.
I actually don't know any of the games. I think it's smart from any company's point of view. If you feel like Cyberpunk is going to have some effect financially on you, but delay it. So what? Everybody delays. Cyberpunk's done it 3 times. You can do it once or twice.
Watch when the new GTA or Red Dead come out. It'll happen again. Hopefully it doesn't coincide, or hopefully it nicely coincides with the PoE release date.
I'm not sure Red Dead is at the same level as Cyberpunk. I don't even think GTA is.
I don't know. GTA, I would say.
The thing,
I hate it. I hate the game, but I would say it's
GTA is fine. The game's fine, but the reason Cyberpunk is what it is just because of all of the hype that's been built up for the last year for this game, and the people that are involved in the game, and you've got streamers freaking out about the game, and there's just way too much behind it.
Yeah.
You would be crazy to try and compete with them unless you just had a crap load of money and didn't care.
Do you think Keanu Reeves cares about Cyberpunk?
Not at all.
I remember because I used to be
it. It's awesome, but no.
Yeah. I used to be a big, when it first came out, Assassin's Creed fan for the first 2 Assassin's Creeds. And I remember when they went to go make it a movie, and what's his name? Michael Fassbender, I think his name is. He was the main guy in the movie for Assassin's Creed. Didn't know anything about the game, didn't play it, did nothing from one of the interviews that I saw. So just interesting. But then you have someone like Henry Cavill, who is such a huge fan of Witcher 3 that he goes absolutely
totally different,
bonkers to be the guy, to be Geralt. So
I'm pretty certain Keanu did not like seek out Cyber Project or whatever they're called and say, hey guys, I need you to just get me in that game.
I really wanted to be Geralt, but you said no. So
they probably approached him and he was like, a what? a video game?
Is it for Nintendo?
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
No. While we're on the subject of astonishing things in Path of Exile, I got an achievement I've been wanting to get for forever. As a gamer, I used to really care about Xbox achievements and Steam achievements big time. It was
Xbox for sure. Not Steam so much, but Xbox, good Lord.
I burnt out from that, and I found chasing some of them, especially in the Fallouts, I had to play styles that I really didn't want to, and I had to play a long time to get some of these achievements. So outside of 100%ing Dark Souls games, I don't care about it anymore. Even for PoE, I don't care. There's some very easy ones I don't have. Like I still, on any platform, I've never chanced something to a unique. I have way more than enough chancing orbs to just easily get it, but I don't bother. I'm not looking for anything, and I haven't gotten it, especially in a trade, a game where you can trade. But I finally got an achievement that I have always wanted. It is called Overcharged, having 15 combined charges simultaneously.
And you just got it? Good job.
Oh, made me smile. And it doesn't count any of the new charges like Inspiration or any other charges you can get. It's only Endurance, Frenzy, and Power charges. And I finally got it with that passive tree character that you constantly make fun of, just hugging the outside wall. Oh, it's so awesome. I didn't even realize. I completely forgot about the achievement as I'm making this character. I was just excited about progressing the character and seeing how it goes. And then all of a sudden, ding, I see the thing and I was like, oh, wrote it down right away. That was about 2 weeks ago. But
did you know it was that one when you got it?
No. I was looking and I was like, what did I do? And I'm like, what did I unlock something? And then it was the charges. It was awesome. I didn't even realize it.
I got it as a Christmas gift in 2018.
You had a character with 15.
December 26th, 2018 is when I unlocked it.
What character would have you done where you were focusing that much on charges?
Well, it was probably accidental.
Yeah, but to get 15 takes a big investment. Like what kind? I mean, 2018, totally different game, PoE, but
way harder to get them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What?
I don't remember.
What would have you been doing?
I have no clue. Something that had a lot of charges, clearly.
Yeah, you've had major crit builds and major endurance charges.
Yeah, I would have had it again this league, just using the neck where I could match my power charges to dex charge or frenzy charges. Like that's like 20 charges right off the bat.
Oh my goodness, that's insane.
So, and that was not doing a crazy circle around the.
Well, you should have been. Imagine how much stronger it would have been.
Imagine.
Okay, so lastly here, I wanted to ask you about this. You know, you've done some RF builds, Righteous Fire builds in the past, and one of my favorite frickin' skills. Like I'm a minion only kind of guy, but Righteous Fire, I always have to have an RF build kicking around, a guide. Now, it's always bugged me, but never enough that I've ever looked into it. But you know, when you turn on RF and you're sustaining it, you're not doing any other fancy stuff with your life. You're not reserving any other life in any way. You know, when you turn on Righteous Fire, it's actually consuming a part of your life. You're never actually at max life. So let's say you have 7,000 life. When you turn on Righteous Fire, you're actually at 6,990. And it's always driven me nuts that that's the case. And I never looked into it. But then somebody following my Righteous Fire guide asked about one of the alternate quality gems. And it was like they just redid Vitality. Vitality is a big part of Righteous Fire build, probably most. And Divergent Vitality it gives you bonus damage when you're on full life. And because a lot of Righteous Fire builds use Vitality, that became pretty relevant. So I asked on Reddit, and every single person that responded on Reddit was pretty cool about it. So awesome. No pricks responded to me, as far as I've checked anyway. So about, was it 4 years ago, I think, it was a mechanical glitch where you were never on full life if you were leeching or regenning life to the point where you were maximizing.
Okay.
They changed that. And now it's just a visual glitch. Like, you do still technically have 6,000. So if 7,000 life is my max, but I turn on RF and I have 6,990, I still actually only have 6,990, but it counts as max life.
As full life.
As full life. That's right. And so now if you're doing a crazy leech character, now I don't know if you call it a glitch or a bug or what, but technically you're still considered full life if you're leeching and your life can't go any higher based on whatever skills you're running. So I thought that was cool. It was something that's been eating me for years, I guess. Like, not in a big way. I just never looked into it, but became relevant all of a sudden. So now we know.
Now you know.
Now you know when you're on Righteous Fire and your health can't go any higher, you're actually full life, even though you're not at max life. Do you have like any nice piano music you can play for that? Da-na-na-na. A harp, maybe? I finally discovered it. I finally figured it out. And I had nice people on Reddit that helped me quickly.
That's unheard of.
I linked, it was so nice that I linked the Reddit link to the person in the guide. It was great. It was such a wonderful hugging experience. Anyway, screw you.
I'm really happy for you.
It's good to know.
I know. I'm agreeing with you 100%.
We should have a, and now you know sound.
Yep. And now I think it's time to wrap up episode 55. Episode 55 of Forever Exiled, a Path of Exile podcast. I am Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
If you're, again, wanting information about our private league coming up, make sure because this will be the last episode before it comes out. We'll obviously talk about it next in episode 56, but it'll be starting in 7 days from now, so Friday next week. Ooh. And if you want to join, make sure you find that information under announcements on Discord. And
he said Discord in a really fancy accent.
Discord. Anyway, you can find our show notes down below. We've got a website, foreverexiled.com. We are on Twitter at foreverexiled82. Again, our Discord link's down below. And if you're interested in our Patreon, you can find that down below. It'll get you access into our After Dark, which for our Patreons, we'll catch you in After Dark after this, and everybody else, 56. See ya.
After Dark after this, the podcast after the podcast.